Hey, how's it going? Hope your Thursday is going well. Welcome back to another episode of the 5-Tool Baseball Podcast. This is episode 26. I'm joined once again, as always, by Drew Bishop, and our coach interviews continue today. We're going north of the Red River with a guy you know very well, Drew. Clay Van Hook is going to jump on the podcast with us. A guy that's a baseball guy through and through, from a baseball family. He's got baseball roots all over the place. So looking forward to this conversation today.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Clay was a teammate of mine at Texas and also in summer ball. So we shared a pull-out bed in Santa Barbara at our host family's house. I had the actual bed and we made him squeeze in the little trundle. But yeah, great baseball family. Dad's a longtime coach, scout. Everyone knows him as coach. That's just what you address him as. One of the best in the business, great guy, knows everyone. You can tell a lot of similarities and things that Clay's taken from him. Sister Olivia, good softball player, coaches softball now. She's great. Whole family's just really down to earth people from Brenham. And Clay's made a good living as a recruiting coordinator. He obviously knows the game, knows kids, and puts a premium on relationships, and he always has. And, that's just something that, Skip Johnson looks for, and something that their program just exudes, that family feel.
Yeah. And I imagine when he opens up his phone, he's got a long list of people he can contact to get some thoughts on some kids and things like that. But you've got something up your sleeve for him today that we're gonna see how he reacts to.
Got to figure out how to work it in. I don't know if I want to put him on skates right off the bat, but we'll find a way to work it in somehow.
All right, well, let's get to our interview here with Oklahoma assistant coach Clay Van Hook. Our coaching interviews continue here, and we're going north of the Red River to Norman, Oklahoma. Clay Van Hook from the Oklahoma coaching staff joins us today on a 5-Tool Baseball podcast. And Clay, first off, how'd the fall go for you guys? I think it's exciting times in Norman. We're not going to talk about what's going on with the football program, but from the baseball side of things, how'd the fall go for you guys? I know we have a lot of Oklahoma fans that tune in.
Yeah, I think I think I'm speaking for everybody, just getting back to some sort of normalcy after, the last year to year and a half with COVID, getting to where, there's a lot more freeness in the program to have workouts, and being able to do a lot more with the one-on-one instruction, get back in a locker room, but it was an outstanding fall to, bring the guys back, a really good mixture of returners, and some good young talent. But like I said, I think I speak for everybody, just to be able to get back out on the field, and, because it's a totally different landscape from last fall to this fall. And, I thought it went really well for us.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine Skip not being a huge fan of all the COVID protocols and having to switch things up, just knowing how much of a creature of habit he is.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of teams, and we all fought it last year, like last year was really hard to build a team and a culture, just because you couldn't be around each other in like large settings, like having to do a lot of Zoom stuff. And I think the Zoom stuff has helped you be a little bit more creative in how you do things within your program. But I do think this year, just getting back to, guys being able to play ping pong in the locker room, being able to watch TV or listen to music, or just to be around each other, because with the landscape of COVID, you've got, a lot of roster changes, you got the transfer portal. Like there has to be that time where guys can not only kind of forge that bond of a team, but just to get to know each other. Guys are, not having to wear as many masks and all that stuff, I think has been big, just to build a culture, and have guys to learn who each other are, and get to be able to build that bond that I think every winning culture has.
Well, yeah, and that's been Skip's MO forever. I mean, how many times you look down at the bullpen and you got like 20 guys down there while one guy's throwing a pin, right? And that's just the the love that guys have for Skip and just being around him, and, you know, just the teaching that he does in a single bullpen. You know, you learn a lot when it's not even your day to throw. So, you know, I can imagine it's been great for you guys. And, you know, we got to go up and watch you guys practice one day this fall, and you can tell that there's a lot of energy in the program. Guys are flying around and just having fun with it. And, you know, like like you and I know, when you have practices that are that intense, but you're still having fun, that's when you get a lot done.
Yeah, and I think too, being able to, obviously with Skip at the helm, like being able to take a lot of the stuff that Coach Garrido, you know, did in his practices and kind of spin it, and it's kind of fun to have. It's like a Skip spin on it, you know, where it's very
Right.
it's very energy driven, you know, but it's also very detail oriented, like Coach always had, you know. So you know, I think to see the way our practices went, you know, because too, like now, like some of the guys that were maybe first year guys last year, like didn't get to see maybe necessarily the full effect.
Right.
But now you've got guys who are obviously older. You know, I think obviously from a position player standpoint, we've got a lot of returners. You know, so I think that helps when you talk about, you know, building that culture, because it starts from day one. You know, it's not a, you know, where you have some time to fill it out. You gotta get that culture started, you know, right from the get go. And we feel like we've got a good group of guys. And I think first of all, getting Skip healthy, you know, he had the hip surgery and all that. So he's back to moving around. He's moving better than ever. So, you know, but I think that was a big component of our fall, of what we wanted to focus in on.
Clay, you mentioned the word adapt. I mean, I'm sure that not only was from the team building element, it was challenging with COVID and everything else, but from the recruiting side too. I think everybody's still kind of adapting to, you know, the more normal recruiting world again. How did that kind of change the way you guys did things? And did it maybe emphasize some things or make some things more challenging than they were during normal times?
Yeah, I think you almost had to put, you know, a lot more emphasis on the relationships you build in the recruiting process. You know, I think, you know, through high school coaches, through select coaches, like we just couldn't get out. And it's, to me, it was really hard to sit in front of a computer and watch a, you know, a live stream, because it's just you're not there. It's, you know, once we got back out this summer, you really appreciate, you know, the grind a little bit more, because you're able to have those conversations a lot better. You know, but I would say for the most part, you know, you leaned on the guys you normally lean on. You know, you're just not getting that opportunity to, you know, kind of set your own eyes on guys. And that's for us, and I'm sure it's the same at a lot of the bigger programs or in any program, you know, seeing it with your own eyes is huge. You know, it's really hard, you know, just to go off of a, you know, you always trust your eyes. That's what you've always kind of done it in the recruiting business. But, you know, I think that was kind of the big thing for us going forward, was once we were able to get back out. I mean, you're talking about a wide array of not only the classes, but your incoming guys, you know, the guys that you currently have on your roster, just to make sure that, you know, you're monitoring the development as much as possible. So it goes a lot deeper than in the recruiting too. It's your own players getting, you know, being able to go to the Cape and go to watch them, you know, just to see how they're doing, I think was a big key. And you saw it this summer. There was a bunch of dudes out because you know, you're off for a year and a half. I mean, when first day we got out, I said, all right, I told my wife, I'll see you in August. So, so it was good to get back out there. But I'd say the biggest difference was just leaning on those relationships that you already have, because that's all you could really go off of.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned you talked a little bit about the grind of it. You know, for those that don't know, you grew up in Brenham, you played in junior college, you played on a national championship team in Texas, you coached at McNeese, you were a volunteer at Rice, you were a full-time assistant at Rice, and you're at OU now. So you've been at a bunch of different types of schools, and, you know, that had to do things different ways, whether that's in recruiting, in the type of kids that you look for in the recruiting process. You know, like, how have all of those stops shaped the way that you look at kids, or what you're looking for at OU? And on top of that, you know, obviously everyone knows your dad is a longtime scout and, you know, a coach as well. So, you know, how did all that stuff shape what you are looking for and things that you want to see from guys when you're out on the road?
I think everything we do in the coaching profession and any profession, all experiences that we have are learning lessons. And I don't think you could go across the whole scape of college baseball and find one program that's going to be identical to the other. Everyone has their little nuances. They have their, whether it's through the admissions process or geographically or cost of attendance, all that stuff. I mean, but I think any of those stops that you make, you learn from where you're at, like the type of player or the type of kid that we might have recruited at McNeese is going to look different than Rice, than at an OU or at a Texas. Like they're just all different, but you learn from all of them. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's been, from my standpoint, it's been cool, is that, geographic for me, I'm in a comfort zone, being, born and raised in Texas, and, being in this region, the relationships I've built, first of all, through my dad, in the scouting world, and, through the junior college ranks, and even into high school, I think has been big. And I think, looking at going from, McNeese to Rice, you're at a highly academic school, and now being at OU, which, for me is more of a name brand. Like, you can go from all over the country and people are gonna know who OU is. And you use all those experiences, because I think it's, it's all encompassing. Like, the fit as a coaching staff, it's the same in the recruiting process. You got to try to target the kids that are going to fit, into the culture of the program that Skip has built since he's been here, and guys that like to hunt and fish are going to love it here. That's just the nature of the beast. Like, that's something, like, if you ask Skip Johnson, like, he's going to tell you, he loves baseball. He loves to coach baseball, and he loves to hunt, and guys that come on visits, they build that rapport with him. Like, it's a big deal. Like, geographically, we feel here like we can get into a lot of different places. You look at some of the pictures behind me, there's a lot of guys that are, not only from the state of Oklahoma, but in surrounding areas, the state of Texas, California. We're reaching into a lot of areas because of, the type of kids we try to target. We want to bring it, because this is, in our opinion, this is a destination spot. You're right in the middle of the country. You're just south of a major airport hub in Oklahoma City. But I guess to go back, like, the experiences that I've had, like, I tell kids all the time, more times than not, as a college recruiter, we get told no more than yes. Right. So you kind of learn from those experiences. And I think the biggest thing is trying to, going forward, what have I done in the past that built success on the recruiting trail? And it goes back to all the stuff we all talk about: culture, targeting the right kids, making sure you find the right profile on every kid, and everywhere you go, you just, sometimes you're going after different kids, but at the end of the day, you're still trying to target the best fits for your program.
You mentioned having to be a live stream scouter during the COVID times when you guys couldn't be out on the road and want to get back. And it's just not the same as being at a field. What are maybe some things that when you're at a ballpark that you're trying to pick up on about kids that you can't get from the live stream, even if it's a great camera angle and you're seeing all the at-bats or the arm work? Like, what are some things that you're kind of keying in on to see if that kind of player is a fit for your program beyond kind of like the talent skill type stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, in this day and age, with everything that you can be able to pick up on, there's not going to be any rock that's going to be unturned. I don't think anymore you're going to have these kind of hidden gems or these guys that are under the radar. Like, I don't think that's going to happen in the day and age we live in with all the technology, which I think is a great thing, because kids are going to get the opportunities that maybe some kids 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago wouldn't have had before. Right. But for us, it's all the stuff that's in between the innings, all the stuff that you can pick up on in the dugout, seeing what a guy does, like, in between innings as a defender or as a pitcher, like, how they deal with failure, I think is the biggest thing that we look for, because I think we can all identify a talented kid, but it's going to be, how does he interact with his teammates? Is he respected? Is there a work ethic? Is he coachable? Because when you're at a game, you can pick up on that stuff pretty quick. What does he do when he's not playing? What's the MO of when he is dealing with failure? Like, I love to watch as a position player coach, I like to go see guys 8-10 times. I actually want to see a little bit of failure in there. I want to see how they're going to respond, because, when you get to our level, you're going to be dealing with a lot of stuff. When you're going out every weekend and you're playing a University of Texas or a Texas Tech or whoever it may be, like, you're going to be facing a lot of adversity, and you're going to be facing a lot of talented people. So, at an early age, if you can target those kids that can handle it, and they can, deal with a little bit of adversity or the pressure and all that, I think that's big to target. But you can't simulate that. Like, if you're videotaping an at bat or a pitching outing, more times than not, it's when they're doing really good, which is fine. But
Right.
For us, we want to make sure, hey, when stuff is hitting the fan, how is this kid going to respond? Is he going to kind of look it in the eye and take it head on, or is he going to run from it? Because those are skills that you don't get to see outside of the normal setting. So that was kind of the good thing to get back out to these tournaments this summer and in the early fall, and just to be able to see not only how these kids perform in between the white lines, but to see how they respond, because that's something that you can't pick up on in an outside of a normal setting.
Yeah. Well, one thing that really sticks out about the last several classes you guys have had is just there's a lot of hard-nosed guys that have a lot of athleticism. So, when you go through, a guy like Tavion Vaughns, the guy's obviously a freak athlete and has stuff that you can't coach. And then you got a guy like Easton Carmichael, who's really hard-nosed and just plays the game 100 miles an hour every time I've seen him. So, that seems to be what you guys are looking for, some athletic type of guys that, that you guys can get in there and that aren't finished products and develop. So, that tells me a lot that you guys are confident in your development skills, and, knowing and having pitched for Skip, it's something he's really good at. But talk about, what you and Coach Overcash and now Reggie Willits are aiming to do with some of those guys.
Yeah, it's like I said a couple minutes ago, the landscape of it is every, whether OU or wherever, we're all targeting a lot of the same kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. We're at the schools we're at because we've been able to target those guys. But I think it goes down to, like we said, anywhere, it's all about fit. Like the kids that we've targeted, like you look at Easton, like that kid grew up in Crimson. Like that's a big part of it. Guys that grew up, that are around the program or come to games before, that's huge, because growing up, I think everybody, wherever you're at geographically, all had certain schools that you would like to target. And then the biggest thing for us, and you didn't get this during COVID, was getting kids up here and letting them like be around Norman, being around the school, because when kids get here, they love it, man. That and I think that goes across the whole athletic department. You look at in my short time here, the kids that have come through here in all sports has been pretty impressive. And I think now with bringing Reggie on, and with what he's bringing to the table from an offensive standpoint, I think you're going to lean a lot more to that athletic aspect of it, because we're going to push the envelope. It's going to be chaotic when you see the type of offense that we're going to run. And then obviously, Drew, you've been here, both of you guys have been here, like the way this park is, and with that Oklahoma wind, like you got to have athletic defenders, because it's a big park. When it's got that 30-40 mile an hour wind, like you got to be able to have guys that can move and do some things, because the elements and the weather here is going to be a lot different than going down to Austin or going to Fort Worth. You're gonna be dealing with some Midwest elements. So the way this field is to have athletic defenders and athletic bats, because it is a big park. Like you're gonna have guys that can run the ball out of the park, but really it's more of a park designed to hit a bunch of doubles. Which you've seen over the last few years. We've had high double guys, and I think that's the type of when we talk about the athleticism, that's what we're definitely trying to get here on campus. But too, if they're too good, if they're too much of a polished product, as you know, the draft, they ain't showing up.
Be
So,
good, but don't be that good.
Exactly. Like, it's we all deal with it, when you're talking about the draft, and I mean, you want to be going after those kids that are like kind of on that bubble, I mean, it's what you always deal with in recruiting. But like I said, that's even more so, especially here, we've got to be able to find those athletic pieces, because the way this park is on the right day, it could be a very offensive park, or it could be a very defensive park. So you got to be able to have that combination of both.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to something you said about the, growing up around the program and the fanhood. And just because a lot of people don't know this, I mean, some do, but you played at Texas. Mm-hmm. You won a national championship at Texas. And you tell me and a lot of our friends on a pretty regular basis that living in Norman, there's no way that you can root for Texas in any capacity. No way. I get that you can't root for us when you're playing, when Texas plays OU. I get that, they pay the bills, but your stance that you couldn't root for Texas if they were playing Alabama in a bowl game that didn't affect OU. Talk a little bit about that and your loyalty to the Crimson.
So I have been totally bought in. You'll notice my wedding ring has an OU on it.
Oh, wow.
Okay? We are
wow. That replaced the national championship ring, huh? Man.
Well, I will preface that by saying, I've always been, so growing up, my great uncle was head of the Letterman's Association at Texas A&M. They've actually had an award named after him at Texas A&M. So, and then my dad went to TCU. Obviously, I played at Texas. Now I work at OU. I was at Rice, which was an old Southwest Conference foe. So I just like to say that I'm very seasoned in the places that I've been. But like I said, that from the first time I showed up here, man, it's been a lot of fun. I feel like that's anywhere you go. Like, you have to be, whether you're a coach or a player, like, you have to be bought in 100% with wherever you're at. You've got to pour your heart, your soul, every inch of you into where you're at, where your feet are. And I think that's a good, like, I think that's a good theme, to be able to have that experience, to say where I've been. So like, kids know like how invested, because it at the end of the day, it comes down to the relationships you have with the players, like instilling, things that have happened to me in the past, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is, wherever I've been, and instilling that into where I'm at. And, now I'm getting to that age where, my daughter's 8, my son's he's gonna be 6 on Saturday. Our roots are here in Norman, and it's been a lot of fun. And too, I've had some experiences, playing in the Big 12 and having a lot of friends, Zach Sawyer and Jake McCarter, and a lot of guys that I knew from our playing days that I actually played with in junior college, but I think that's what's fun about it, being able to work with one of my mentors and Skip, being able to be here has been an unbelievable blessing. But like I've told all of our former teammates, you got to be where your feet are. And I absolutely love it here. I'm bought in 100%. I do have my diploma is hanging up in my office, which
whoa, okay.
Wow. Do you have, I've been inside Ryan Gaines' office, for the upside down Longhorn. The actual Longhorn is upside down on his wall. Tell me that you don't have that.
I don't know. I don't have that. I have more, I've got a lot of baseball autographs and a lot of pictures of me in my Sooner uniform. But yeah, I was able to put my, all my, because I'm actually a collector of autographs. So I was able to put that up in the office and all that good stuff. But like I've said before, man, this is a really cool place. This is a really special place. And I can't speak on that enough. And it's more so the people that are surrounded around the program. I mean, it starts from the top with, Joe Castiglione and it works all the way down. But what's cool is, like, I'm getting to that age where, my daughter's playing soccer. So like I talked to Mark Carr about, certain things, and, Briscoe's just whacking around a tennis ball. And so you get to forge those bonds, across a whole athletic department, which I think speaks to, because I don't think I don't know if it's necessarily like that at a lot of places, but the bonds that are forged here and that's what this place is about. It is relationship driven. I mean, you heard that, with the new football coach hire, like it's not transactional here. It's relationship driven. And I think that's what, you talk about fit and culture, like that's how it is every sport across campus. It has to be that way, because that's what this place was built on.
For sure.
Yeah, I know one thing that you guys kind of like to recruit to or like to promote is that element of being a two-sport guy. But I'm looking at this signing class. I mean, 6'7", 6'5", 6'5". I think there's a 6'8" in there somewhere. Like, man, you guys hit the physicality home run on a lot of these arms. Is that just something that you guys like to target, or is that just how the way it worked out? Because I don't know if Porter Moser is going to be coming over there and see if he can find some rebounders out of this group. You guys got some size in this class.
Yeah, I think, you look at it, it's all about, what Skip locates on and what he likes. And he's historically has had a lot of success with big, tall, strapping pitchers. You look at it from, the people he worked with in junior college to Texas. I mean, it wasn't a bunch of small dudes. So, from your Taylor Youngmans to, all those type guys, like, and even the guys that we've had here, your Cade Cavallis to your Jake Irvins. I mean, that's kind of where he's had a lot of success. But I think for him, I don't think he has a mindset of necessarily a profile in terms of size. Like and y'all seen him work, like it doesn't matter if the guy's 5'6" or 6'6", like he's going to be able to get, as much out of that guy as anybody, but I do think it, and plus too, in this day and age, these kids are bigger, stronger, faster, they're throwing harder than ever. It's, I'm looking up at some of these kids and I'm like, my gosh, I mean, I wasn't the biggest player on the field by any means, and more times than not, I was typically the smallest. So, but yeah, I mean, you look at some of these kids, and too, they're getting after in the weight room at an earlier age. It's just, it's an exciting time to be a recruiter, because anytime you go to a ballpark, you're like, my gosh, these kids are they're just unbelievable size and speed and strength, and it makes, I think it's, it's a good thing. It's making it tougher on professional baseball, college baseball, and because a lot of there's just so much talent out there. But I know Skip's excited about, getting some of these guys, and hopefully them ended up on campus.
Yeah. So Clay, I know that Skip always used the phrase, "You trying to throw a needle through a haystack." That was typically the phrase he would use for guys like Brandon Workman, having those big pitchers. But I think, like you talked about, what he's had so much success with, being able to get those guys to understand and feel their body, right? Mm-hmm. And just being able to work downhill towards the target. And, I think Skip's, MO with pitching is making it easy. I think that was his genius was, it may come along with a bunch of cliches that you really have to sit and think about to get a mental picture in your head. But once you do, you have a pretty good understanding of what you're trying to do on the mound. And, he's always been successful with that. And just, being another parent figure for anyone that he's ever coached is his MO, the relationships like you talked about, and your whole staff is built like that. Just a bunch of really good people that have been around the game, really care about the kids. And, you got guys like Ryan Gaines, who've been in Norman forever. You got guys on staff like Britt Bonneau, who's been, Abilene Christian, OU. So you have some ties to the program, and it just shows that you guys care about not only the school, but the kids, right? I think the development that takes place in you guys' program speaks for itself.
Yeah. And I think too, like the coolest thing, and you guys know Skip, so like you'll appreciate this, but like that guy has grinded for so long, and he's built so many relationships. Like I'm not sure you can contact a high school coach or a select coach or somebody who doesn't know somebody who knows Skip. Like it's truly unbelievable to, the Rolodex that guy has in his phone. I mean, he has built so many relationships through, most of them through baseball, but like, he knows guys that own ranches and hey, you need to get your car fixed, go to this guy. Like, he knows so many people, but that's who he is, and that's why he has built the success that he has, because he doesn't shy away from opening himself up and getting to know somebody. He's going to be the same. He's going to be who he is, whether you're a 5-star recruit or you're the bullpen catcher or whoever, but that's why we attract, I think, so much interest, because so many guys always say like, hey, I just want you to go play for Skip. Oh, my dad did it. My dad was like, my dad wanted me to play for Skip. So like, there's a lot of people out there that have that in their mind, like, oh yeah, you should go play for Skip. Because they know above all else, he's going to take care of those kids, and he's going to by any means possible, he's going to try to get as much out of the, not only the talent, the development, but we know that when they walk away from this program, they're going to walk away better than when they step foot on campus.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a parent dropping your kid off in Norman, you know how he's going to be taken care of. That's for sure. And so, yeah, it's just special guy. He obviously looks for a certain type of person on their staff, and, you guys just do a great job with that. One of the things that we've been talking about a lot over the last few episodes and asking a bunch of our guests is, the whole NIL thing is new. We didn't have that when we were playing, but if you were still playing and you had a chance to find some sort of NIL deal out there, maybe it's in Norman, or just, you might be a national brand type of guy, but what kind of deals would Clay Van Hook be looking for? Most of ours are food related.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I would have to be searching, because I can promise you this: nobody would have been reaching out to get my services. I think it's been cool when you're dealing with equivalencies. Like, this is big for equivalency sports, man. I was on a book scholarship. Like literally, I got my books paid for. Awesome, man. If I could have had an opportunity to help supplement that in some form or fashion, like, that would have been unbelievable. But I think that's where, people can talk about but for equivalency sports, that's big. If you can find things to help pay for the rest of tuition or get to some money to go towards room and board, like, more times than not, y'all know it, man, these kids are paying something, and the NIL deals I think have been good for those guys that can do it and been able just to have that option, like,
right.
I think about when we played, it was a little bit different in terms of, obviously, you didn't have the 25% rule or all that, like, but even more so, guys were, paying a lot more out of pocket, so I think it's been a good deal.
So what kind of deal are you looking for?
Yeah. What kind of deal? Like, I mean, you guys are Jordan brands, so you got 12 pairs of Jordans in your office or anything like that, or?
And I'm not wearing them today. They only because I knew I was going to be.
Can't scuff them.
No, you weren't going to see my J's, but yeah. If you're asking what would I have looked for, I think I wouldn't have been a good food guy, because obviously I was 140 pounds when I played. So people are like, well, he's.
But you can. That does mean. I mean, Bluebell, hometown guy.
I could have hammered Bluebell.
Yeah,
being a former employee. Yeah. I mean, I would have had all of it. Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to know what you did there.
I made some of the best ice cream in the summer of 2003. That if anybody ate Bluebell in the summer of 2003, it was in very good hands. I'll put it that way.
What flavor of Bluebell? Like, because I'm sure you sampled everything that they had to offer in 2003.
I am traditional milk chocolate.
Okay.
Boom.
All right. Fair
now
enough.
I will say this: I'll dabble in some cookie dough, some mint chocolate chip, but yeah, I'm a milk chocolate guy through and through. Not Dutch, milk chocolate.
All right, we'll put you down for Bluebell then. Yeah, everybody tends to veer towards the food angle with the NIL stuff when we ask them. Like, Nolan Kane, he mentioned, he finally came up with Canes and like, okay, well, that makes perfect sense. That could work for you. So, I mean, Drew, he's such a food guy that it always seems to creep into the conversation with NIL stuff.
Maybe get like a fishing deal, like hooks, like doing fishing lures.
Oh, there you go.
Or maybe get a car deal, like some vans, or the shoe vans. And we can go a lot of different options here.
So now we know the brains behind the NIL procedures at the University of Oklahoma. Like we're hearing it right now. like come to Coach Clay's office and let's figure out something for you NIL wise.
Get something on paper and we'll get some extra money in the pocket.
There you go. There you go.
Well, Clay, thanks so much, man, for taking the time to join us. And I know you guys are busy up there, and a lot of exciting things are happening at Oklahoma, and we look forward to following you guys this year and just looking at the signing class you guys are bringing in. I mean, a lot of really good guys, great mix of JUCO guys and high-end high school guys as well. So you guys are doing a good job up there. But thanks again for taking so much time to hop on with us and kind of share what's going on up there.
Well, y'all know anytime you want me on, you just get me on, because we'll have a good time doing it.
All right. Appreciate it, Clay.
See you guys.
Thanks again to Oklahoma assistant coach Clay Van Hook for joining the Five Tool podcast. A lot of good stuff from Clay. Again, I'm encouraged to hear an assistant coach mention the NIL thing. I think it's becoming at least a little bit bigger of a deal for college baseball than maybe I anticipated. I know, Drew, when the NIL stuff first started going around, I was like, you didn't really hear much mention with baseball at all. We kind of heard it with those secondary sports like volleyball and things like that, and track and field as well. But baseball wasn't really mentioned too much. I actually saw Trey Faltini had an Instagram post doing some NIL stuff last night, and Nolan Kane mentioned it. Now Clay mentioned it as well. So it does seem to be at least something that's viewed as a possible supplement for these guys. Like Clay mentioned, he was on books at the University of Texas, and like Nolan mentioned, a lot of those really successful LSU teams that he coached in Omaha had three main contributors that weren't even scholarship guys. So I am encouraged to hear that this is at least a part of the conversation as it relates to recruiting and program building and things like that.
Well, I think too, baseball will be in a good position to see a lot of this tick up in the spring. There's so much turnover from year to year when it comes to rosters and teams when in baseball. And, I think they'll look back and be glad that it went this way, because it gave, several months of people doing some trial and error to figure out what works and what's beneficial. And, I think you're going to have some kids that are able to really, I don't know if they're going to make astronomical money like some of these big name quarterbacks or star basketball players, and that's okay. But, like you mentioned, the key benefactor in all of this in baseball are going to be the guys that can get some money here and there to help supplement their scholarship. And, whether that's helping them pay for rent or buying more food or, just having some normal money to get by, I think that'll be where we see the most impact in our sport, thankfully.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever reach the day where it's like guys are choosing college baseball over pro baseball primarily because of the NIL thing. But like you said, like if we get to a point where more of these guys are able to pay a month's rent because of what they're getting from the NIL side, I mean, that's a big deal for the 11.7 and things like that. I'm thinking, some of the guys that OU's had recently, your Steele Walkers and your Cade Cavallis and guys like that. I mean, those are guys that probably really could have cashed in to enough to where it would have helped. It would have helped make things a little bit easier for them. And, another thing that Clay mentioned is another consistent theme with these coaches that we talk to, being at the game and seeing how guys interact with coaches and teammates. And I thought it was really cool to hear him say, like, yeah, we want guys that are really good, but when I'm watching a position player, I want to see him fail a little bit just to see how he handles it, because he brought up a great point. Like, these guys that hit 400 in high school, they're not going to hit 400 at Oklahoma. They might be a really talented freshman player that hits 240 their freshman year. It's very much a process for these guys, and they're going to have to fail a lot. And yet again, here's another coach saying that when I go out and watch these guys in person, yeah, we're looking at the talent, the skill, and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of the stuff that happens outside the white lines is stuff that we really pay attention to see, okay, this is a guy that we're going to go after and pursue for our program.
Yeah, well, it's a separator, right? If you're looking at a couple of different kids and you're going up against a kid in recruiting that throws the helmet and doesn't run hard to first, then you're going to have a leg up. And I really hope that we can get that across to kids, because it's stuff that matters. I mean, it's important to your development as a baseball player to do things the right way. But it also may give you more opportunities. And on the other hand, you can cost yourself opportunities if you have that one game where a bunch of guys are in to see you and you let the pressure get to you, or don't react the way that a guy like Alex Bregman did. That can really affect your future. I mean, just one helmet toss can greatly impact your future. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's true. And I remember our coaches would come back from recruiting visits all too often and say, well, we can check that guy off the list because he's not going to be able to make it here, because he can't fail. And, talking about like what Clay said about the position side, I know Skip felt the same way. He would much rather go watch a guy pitch in a high school playoff game than see him at a big showcase, throw one inning and just blow it out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he can't tell if you know how to pitch or can hold runners. It's great that you throw 97, but 97 doesn't get you a whole lot of success in the Big 12 and the SEC if that's all you got. Right.
Yeah.
And if you can't locate it. But yeah, it's always interesting to hear that. And it's pretty much everybody that we've talked to has brought something similar up. And it matters. And, if you listen to this podcast and you hear it and you're not sure if you can take anything from what we're saying, hopefully that would be one thing that we've continued to stress that resonates.
Yeah. And I think this Oklahoma staff, I think they're a really good representation of, you can find baseball talent at all levels. They've got a really good mix of JUCO guys and also high school guys. And they also kind of stick to their region, but they will kind of spread their wings a little bit. I've seen they got a couple guys from Illinois. They got a guy from California, Mark McGuire's son, Mason McGuire, from California, another pitcher from California, a couple guys from Texas, a couple guys from Oklahoma. Like, I think they've got a pretty good feel for how to build a roster, how to build a signing class. And it's also a good example of, hey, if you're talented, these guys are going to go find you. And these successful high-end programs at the D1 level are often going to look like this. They're going to have some of those junior college guys. They're going to have a lot of the guys from their region. They're going to go pluck a couple guys from outside their region as well.
Yeah. I mean, like Clay mentioned, the Skip's Rolodex is gigantic. Mm-hmm. And, it's tough to find anyone that can say a bad word about that guy. It's just the feeling of care that you experience when you play for him. It's never ending. Skip's a guy that, he's living and dying on every pitch that Clayton Kershaw throws because he helped him when he was a high school kid. And, it still matters to him. He doesn't sleep at night because he's watching baseball games that he's taped from weeks ago that he's finally able to get to when he gets off the road. And that's just who he is. Right. And, I can guarantee that any parent that drops their kid off with Skip is going to be able to sleep at night because they know that he's taking care of their kid. He always used to tell recruits, my phone sits by my head 24/7, and he means that. And to a detriment sometime if you're sitting in a meeting because he never turns the sound off. And I remember one time, Coach Garrido, we were sitting there in a meeting and, the dog barks when someone calls and the duck quacks when someone texts him. And it's just, we're just sitting there and you got dogs barking, ducks quacking. It was like the zoo when we're sitting there in a meeting, but that's just who Skip is and why everybody loves him. But, you see their program overall. I mean, you see guys that come from the same program a lot that play for him. You see brothers come and play for Skip all the time. And that's not by accident, right? And, you mentioned Mark McGuire's son, I believe his younger son's coming to OU as well. So, there's definitely a family feel to that program. I can't imagine Skip ever being a part of a program that's not that way. That's just who he is and who he attracts. And, it's why he's so good. And, Clay's the same way, see a lot of that in Clay. Like I said, I played with Clay. I've known him for a long time, but those aren't the only two guys in their program that exude that same amount of care for their players. And, I think you're going to have a hard time finding anybody that's played in that program recently that didn't enjoy their time there,
Mm-hmm. Now the big question you had for Clay, are you okay with the answer? I think he caught us both off guard having the OU emblem on the wedding ring.
That's a new one. That's
we
a
didn't
new
anticipate
one
that one being part of his response. So as a Longhorn that played with Clay on a national championship team, was his answer acceptable for you?
It was a much more professional discussion than we've had in the past when we've been over the same topic. It sounds like
he's had some guys really get on to him about that, yourself included, maybe.
Oh yeah, if your name is Drew and you played at Texas, you've had that conversation with him and it's been heated. But I'm not the only one. Drew Stubbs used to always get on him, or still probably does. But it's something that just part of the rivalry. It's what makes it fun. But, he said something important. We talk about the coaching changes a lot, but the guys that are successful and continue to get opportunities and, quote unquote, go up the ladder versus going backwards in the job world are guys that are able to do that. It's not easy. Change is never easy. And being able to fit into all different environments and really get into a school and be ingrained in what they do and the culture. And, like Clay said, he's going around talking to coaches of other sports. It's really healthy. Right. And, if you're invested in that program, it shows, and it's tough to fake. There's a lot of salesmen in the game, but, you spend a little bit more time with the guys over time. And, once players are actually in a program and see those guys and who they really are, it shows up that they really do care about not only the kids themselves, but the program and the town. And, I think there is definitely a sense of family when you go up there and spend a little bit of time around, not just the baseball program, but the other programs involved at OU. And I think, that's why so many people are having such a hard time with some of the Lincoln Riley stuff, is because, they're not used to that.
Right.
People go to OU and stay there. And that's a credit to Joe Castiglione and what he's built. But, it's just, it's one of those places that has a great feel, has a great history and tradition. And obviously the fan base loves their Sooners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play this year. I feel like, the COVID year really robbed them of an opportunity to be an Omaha team. I mean, the way that roster was looking and the arms they had built up there and things like that. So I really like the signing class that they have. I really like some of those guys I've seen that got on their 2023 list from the state of Texas. They're doing a really good job. Unsurprisingly, especially some arms in the state of Texas. So some great stuff from Clay, and really looking forward to see what OU does this year. But you got any big weekend plans? What do you got on the agenda this weekend?
Well, one of Skip's former bullpen catchers at University of Texas, James Barton, is getting married in Austin on Saturday.
Nice.
So yeah, it'll be a good chance to see him. But just like you talk about with those guys on your program that Skip loves, one through however many guys you got on your roster, he does. Like I would imagine I'm going to see Skip on Saturday. James Barton's a great kid. Just one of those kids that you love having in your program. He played a role that, isn't all that fun. I don't think there's a lot of people that are going to be hopping in line to wear 90 plus fastballs off the chest, off the arm, and without any chance of ever getting to play. Mm-hmm. Right. It's just,
except scrimmages.
Yeah. Well, I actually think we did get him an at bat just because everyone,
I'm pretty sure he got one.
Yeah. Yeah. But, just a special kid, and the more guys you can have like that in your program, the better. It speaks to the culture of how you're doing things. Cause if people are miserable and you've got a job like that, that's not a lot of like no glory and not a lot of fun sometimes. You got guys selling out to do that. I mean, you're doing things the right way.
Yeah. But those guys impact culture too. Those guys can influence, just the mood of people around him and stuff like that.
It would be interesting to look and see find a list or put together a pretty good list of guys that have been bullpen catchers for multiple years in their programs. And I would feel pretty confident saying that those kids ended up being successful and are well liked by just about everyone. Because if you can last in that role for several years, you're a special kind of person just to begin with. And I would imagine that a lot of those guys end up being really successful at what they do.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would. That's a pretty good guess. So now you're going to a wedding as a dad. So like, is this independent Drew we're letting loose this weekend? Or is this kind of like, I'm just going to eat and fall asleep at 10 p.m. and be out of there early? Or like,
no, this will be the first night ever that either myself or Mary don't put Coy to sleep in person.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the first time ever for Mary. I'm pretty sure it's the only time, but so my mom will be here. We're going to keep him in our house, so he's in his environment.
So he's used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll leave at nap time on Saturday afternoon, go down for the wedding, and hopefully be back around midnight or so. So we'll be there for him to wake up. Yeah. I don't know.
You're not even staying overnight.
No.
Oh man.
No.
Wow.
So we'll see. It's a tough task to ask my mom to wake up between 4 and 5 with him like I do every morning. So we'll get back and I'll be up early with him the next day.
So we're not crushing the Dos Equis at the wedding this weekend, are we?
No.
The food, yes, but
I will. Whatever James puts in front of us food wise will be eaten. I can assure you that.
Yeah. And if you're fortunate enough, there just might be a bacon bar or a breakfast taco bar at the end there before you hit back the road, head back home.
Maybe hopefully this time I won't eat most of them before I'm supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's okay though. We'll just look past that. Well, good luck. I know that it's a weird feeling, it takes like a time or two to kind of try to get over it. I know when we left in early October I was the best man for my good friend Matt in his wedding in New Jersey. And it was like, whoa, like this is weird. Like we're in a different state. We're not with him. Everything's okay. And all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just, we end up worrying about it way too much than we need to, but I know it's kind of a weird feeling, but congrats to James. He's an awesome dude. I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun. And I think your bullpen catcher theory, I think that's definitely probably more right.
We need to look into that.
I'd be surprised because you guys have had some good ones at Texas over the years. Some really good guys have come through there and just been rock solid dudes that have been successful post college. So yeah, it's no glory to that job, but they can impact the program in a lot of ways.
You got a guy like Jordan Pauline was one when I played. He's the team chiropractor now.
Oh, wow.
You've got, Grant Martin, James Barton, Patrick Marsh. Patrick is an oil guy, and he seems like he's always up at Texas.
Klein Collins alum, Patrick Marsh.
Yeah. And I mean, the amounts of money that guy pulls in. I remember one year I had to always sign off on guys' summer jobs and internships, and he brought his paperwork for an internship down in San Antonio, which I think is actually where he ended up working. And I was looking at what he was going to make for the summer, and I was like, wait, this is not like, this is one too many zeros, right? And he was like, no. I was like, oh my God, I'm in the wrong business. Another guy, Hunter Wilcox.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. That list of guys like that's been at a bullpen catcher at Texas. I hope I'm not forgetting someone, but I mean, we just had this immaculate stretch of success in that area for, coincidentally, while Skip was there, throughout all that time. But I mean, those guys, man, they, like you said, they're culture guys. And if they're bought in, and, it's tough for anyone to sit around and complain about their role when those guys are down there wearing balls off the face, off the chest, just nonstop all day long, for no potential glory, right?
Yeah.
It's just,
and if you suck and you're a douche, like they'll just get rid of you, like, because
we would, for a long stretch of time, we would, quote unquote, kill a roster spot when we'd go on the road because we felt like we had to have those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're so valuable to programs. I know I saw a few of them running around when we were up in Norman earlier this fall watching them practice, but man, they do so much for your program.
Yeah.
And it's just, morale, it just the importance that they have to a college baseball program is tough to measure. And you look at the pro guys that do it. Those guys make a ton of money because they get tipped by the big league pitchers because they know how important they are.
And look how many of them often end up in some sort of high ranking role in baseball.
There's a kid that was a couple years younger than me at Rockwall. He played at Northwestern, then became Ivy League smart, just incredibly smart kid, Chad Noble. I think he's still bullpen catcher for the Cubs. I know he was the bullpen catcher on the World Series team. And if you're a bullpen catcher and you can throw BP, you will always have a job.
Yep.
But he's had offers, like I said, he's Ivy League smart. He's had offers from Theo to, he knows that as soon as he stops catching pins, he's got a job in the front office there. And, last I knew he hadn't made that step yet, but he'd probably making more money, but it's crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, shout out to the bullpen catchers out there. And if you're one of those, chances are you're probably going to be pretty successful post college. We've figured that out. So for players out there, hey, you want to stick in baseball, be a bullpen catcher. Like, on all seriousness, like, you can carve out a nice role in doing something afterwards. So, well, good luck at the wedding this weekend. Good luck to my Steelers tonight. Let's hope I'm in a good mood.
I need Deontay to have another big game.
He's got to. Claypool's been banged up some. He's become the guy. James Washington got screamed at the sideline for running the wrong route on third down during that last game, and he's the dude right now. So I think that they might be chasing that game a little bit, just the way the defense is played. So they're probably gonna have to throw the ball a little bit. Let's hope that I don't have my hopes up too high, but man, 7-5-1, give yourself a little bit of a chance to get bounced in the playoffs in the first round, which is better than not making the playoffs at all, I suppose. But well, that wraps up this episode of the 5-Tool Baseball Podcast, episode 26. Thank you for listening. Again, you can find us on Twitter at Dustin L. McComas, at Drew H. Bishop. You can follow all the 5-Tool accounts on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're creeping up on the 8,000 download mark. So thank you for all the support out there. Thank you for the listens. If you do listen to us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, if you're nice enough to leave us a review, it really helps kind of get the exposure out there for the podcast, make it show up a little bit more often in those searches when people are kind of searching around for high school baseball, college baseball, Texas baseball, anything like that they're searching for in podcasts. And we're also on YouTube as well. If you want to see our faces for radio, they are on YouTube. You can find us there as well at the 5-Tool YouTube page, which also includes some player highlights and things like that from fall games, summer games, and so on. So until we talk to y'all next time, go Steelers. Take care.